Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. What a month. What a shitty month this is, guys, so far. Hopefully it gets better next month. June. June sounds like a good month. But we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna roll with all that's happening and get through it. We are well into the Texas A&M trial. So I think we have I don't remember how many more, but we're getting there, guys. I know the verdict. And we live in America. This is a normal thing. And maybe it'll be helpful. Here we go. No socks still.
Page 7, line 7. According to Baldwin, I was in the process of moving the chain from the come along. And as I did that, I spun around and saw the unit kind of shimmy. My question to you is, do you agree with Baldwin that no one was using the come along at the time that this unit tipped and failed? Or do you know?
Can you repeat the question, please?
I thought you told the jury that somebody was cranking on the come along when this thing failed. It sounds like you don't know if they were or not. True?
Billy Baldwin was operating that come along.
I didn't ask whether he was operating at any point in time. I'm asking about the time it fell. Do you know whether at the time it fell he was operating the come along?
I don't know. I was looking at the skates.
Okay, that's all I was getting at. Let's see.
It's against the law to hit him, though. Though I want to, it's against the law to hit a lawyer.
Now, if a certified or qualified rigger on the 4th floor who has the radio is told or asked to cable up or hoist up, and he believes it to be unsafe, he should not do it. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm correct.
Yes, sir.
But he's the rigger.
I mean,
He's the guy qualified to know whether it's unsafe or safe. Isn't that right?
he has a decision. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he has a decision to make to whether it's
The asshole who can't stand up, who can't even sit up straight, that's the one who's talking. Yeah, this guy.
Somebody says, hey, we need another 3 or 4 inches. And if he's the certified rigger and the qualified rigger, and he has the radio, he's the guy that has to decide whether that request was safe or not safe. Isn't that right?
Given the responsibility, I would think so. Yes, sir.
Okay. And that guy was TNT. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
Pass loose.
That guy from TN2 is taking his orders and commands from who?
Mr. Laurie,
And who did Mr. Lorray work for?
way engineering.
Did you at any time on that day see Mr. Garcia, the TNC signal person, give any orders or any directions or any way mechanical or what any way engineering employee on the workforce?
No, sir.
That wasn't his responsibility, was it?
No, sir.
Who placed Mr. Garcia where he was standing?
David Laurie, actually.
And you heard the question from the plaintiffs.
Kelly, you were right all along. They're just blaming David, the victim. At first, I didn't see every single second of this. All I heard was them blaming, the companies. But they are fully placing David Laurie, the victim, to blame here.
Just now about how Mr. Garcia was the only person who could talk to the crane operator, right?
Yes, sir.
That's his job, isn't it?
I'm not sure what his job was. I mean, he was up there to communicate to the groundsman,
And
as of
anything,
what I saw.
and what he was communicating to the grounds person, those instructions and commands came from whom?
David Laurie.
That's the witness.
Can we look at plaintiff's exhibit 51, which is in evidence? You heard counsel use these words, commands and orders. Remember him using those over and over?
Who's that?
The lawyer that was just questioning you.
Oh,
used
yes,
the
sir.
words commands and orders
Okay,
multiple times, right?
yes, sir.
Okay, let's look at it. Can you put 51 on the screen, please? Sorry. And can you go down to the bottom and just show us who wrote this document? You see that name there? You see the name Juan Garcia?
Okay,
You see it?
I see it.
Okay, I just want to look up here. The last three sentences. And just tell me what this word right here. We talked about commands and orders. Let's see what this word, tell us what that word says.
Where at?
Right there. Can you highlight the word ask? Can you just read what that says?
Cable up about 3 to 4 inches.
Now, right here, where he highlighted it.
Ask the cable up.
Say that word again.
Ask the cable up.
Okay. Doesn't use the word command or order, does it?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. That's switch.
Z,
Asked and ordered. Whose mouth did it come out of?
If you're asked by somebody, I would assume that's it'd come out of somebody else's mouth.
Who?
Uh,
Who asked Mr. Garcia?
if according to his document, if it came from if he was asked something, it came from Mr. Laurie. I would suppose.
One last instance, little math problem. You remember we were talking about how much we were reimbursing you?
Yes, sir.
Objection outside the scope. Outside the scope.
I'm gonna allow it, overruled. Go ahead.
And you know, the plaintiff's estimated that for 2 days, your reimbursement on $600.
I'm not sure, but I mean, he said a number. I didn't really pay attention. I have to do the math and look at my.
Isn't it really closer to $830 for 2 days?
Something. I mean,
Sustain, stop. Don't answer the question. Sustain.
What do you believe that your wages that you earned for 2 days that you being recompensated for is?
I believe you said something like 2,000. That was a little outrageous. More in the lines that what you said. It seemed normal.
One last question. Have I asked you I'll withdraw it. I'll pass it over to John.
Are you turning in per diem?
Per diem?
No, to TNT?
Per diem for TNT? What do you mean? We only get per diem if we're outside of radius
Are you outside the radius?
of San Antonio? Yes, sir.
Are you turning in per diem to TNT?
Wasn't told. I mean, I don't know.
You don't know what they're gonna pay you.
Just I was asked to provide a check stub. That's all I provided.
Okay, I just want to be clear because it sounds like when I asked you, I was just doing the math based on $36 an hour. That's what you told me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are they paying you hourly to do this?
Yes, sir. I mean,
And how many hours are you gonna bill them?
I have no idea.
So you don't know what they're gonna.
Whatever days of work I missed.
Okay, so if you miss one, you may be here an hour, but you've missed an entire day of work today, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so even though you may have been with us this morning, for an hour, you've missed an entire day of work.
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna get your full 8 hours today. That's what you expect.
I mean, I lost that.
Sir, I'm not quibbling with you. I'm trying to get a number. That's all.
Okay.
You're gonna charge them $36 an hour for the entire day. 8 hours or 10?
I don't decide that.
So whatever they give you, you're just gonna take it.
Of course, I mean, I'm not at work. You can't go. I mean, what are you asking me? Well, would I want to be paid? I'm not sure.
Understand, I never have a chance to talk to you. This is my only opportunity. And I'm entitled to know what they're paying you to be here. I'm just trying to find out. You told me yesterday it's $36 an hour.
For missing work.
I understand, you can keep saying that, but I understand you're missing work.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how many hours you're charging this company TNT
I'm not charging them nothing. I mean, they're just compensating for me for my miss of work.
Right, they're gonna pay you money,
That's what, lost wages is.
okay? And so you're gonna, it's been 3 days so far, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Metal, how are you feeling? You feeling good today? Are you in pain?
and you work 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, what?
12 hours a day.
Okay, and you get paid $36 an hour,
Yes, sir.
and you missed 3 days,
Yes, sir.
so that's 36 hours.
Okay.
I'm asking, is that
Yes, sir.
36 hours?
Yes, sir.
12 times 3, is that 36?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, that's right, correct?
Correct.
So if you want to know how much they're gonna pay you, it's 36 hours times $36 an hour, is that right?
That's what you're asking?
That's not me, I'm not paying you anything.
Oh,
I'm asking, is that what you're gonna charge them?
yes, sir.
Okay, 36, so you're charging them $1,296,
Okay.
is that right?
I haven't done the math.
I just did the math,
Okay.
36 hours, $36 an hour.
Your Honor, objection, he's badgering the witness.
Overruled.
So I'm just trying to get you to tell me what you claim your lost wages are, so we'll know what they're paying you.
My rate, 36 and some change,
Okay.
for a work day, which would be 12 hours.
Okay, so 12 hours and is it a 3 full work days or more?
Today would be considered a whole work day since I'm not at work and I won't be able to go to work.
You didn't answer my question. Is it 3 full work days?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's $36 an hour times 36, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they owe you $1,296 for your time, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's fly back.
Yes, sir.
Did they pay for your meals last night?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you eat?
I don't know, the restaurant.
Steakhouse right there near the Marriott?
Yes, sir.
Which one was it?
I don't remember the
Was it
name.
Dick Anthony's?
Yes, sir.
I thought so. Did you have yourself a steak?
I did.
Who was with you?
The PI?
The guy I saw going through, security with you this morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what about the night before? Where'd you eat?
Across the street?
From the Marriott?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you went over there to, what's that thing called? The one that has the upstairs bar?
I don't know. I didn't go upstairs.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with these restaurants.
Right. That's what it's on.
No questions, Your Honor.
Is there any reason this witness can't be excused at this time?
Not from our position, Your Honor.
Is he excused and not subject?
Note to all of all of my future employers. If someone dies on the workplace and I have to go testify, I'm checking out the upstairs bar in your tab.
To recall?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Plaintiff's counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you for coming, sir. You are excused.
Thank you.
Ms. Wish to call as their next witness?
Your Honor, we will be submitting Mr. Montalongo, the other injured individual's deposition cuts to the jury.
How long is this?
48 minutes and 32 seconds, Your Honor.
Do you guys need a break or we're good to go? Break. 10 minutes.
Jury.
10:07, 10:17 to the jury. Just spoke to her again.
The judge has it muted, but any second now it's going to be unmuted because we just heard her talking.
You literally know I'm playing.
And that's not,
something. It's the same issue on 199 lines 4 through 11. Again, asking if something would upset him based on the evidence presented.
well, the judge, the objection here is lack of foundation. And that's not, they're launching a relevance objection, so they don't have that here first. Secondly, it's the same thing. He's allowed to talk about what he saw up there, just like everybody else that's been on the stand, including Mr. Perez and Mr. Ramon, about what they saw and how they felt with what they saw up there.
We lodged a proper form objection under 199.5. We never asked Mr. Perez how he felt up there. We did ask Mr. Perez what he saw and what he observed and his opinions there too. It's the same issue as the previous section, Judge, and this should be struck.
Judge, I think every witness has talked about how they felt, with what they saw up there. It is a present sense impression, or it's an impression at the time. So,
Respectfully to Mr. Kim, who's now whispering, a present sense impression, the proper predicate that needs to be laid is that's how he felt at the moment that he was perceiving the thing that he's being asked. This is being, the way it's being asked is, I've shown you this evidence. How does that make you feel now during your deposition? That's not appropriate under 8031.
well, Judge, and I'm going to go back to what I previously said, which was all of these gentlemen that have been up on the stand and all of the testimony that's been produced through deposition, let's talk about what they saw, their experience, how they felt, and their thoughts at the time.
Okay. And so in relation to that, I'm going to sustain the objection because this is how he feels now with the information that you're telling him, not at the time while he was there on the lift. So it's sustained. Mr. Kim, let her argue and remain silent until she's done. Don't whisper or speak loudly. One attorney is talking to the court.
So I understand it with you as counsel can confirm.
You can. So confer, don't interrupt her and tell her things. I can hear you too. Counselor, that's my position. Have a seat. We'll continue. Next, Mr. Pig,
Yes, Judge.
I will make a record.
you want to make a record about what you're doing? I've instructed you what I do not want you to do. So do not do that because you're doing it. You spoke to her before, then you just spoke to her again and says it's a present sense impression. You can confer with her, but not when she's in the middle of argument unless you're going to stop her and talk to her. You recognize that you're speaking out in court. You recognize that you both have come to me and said you don't want the other attorney who's crossing or directing or who's arguing a motion to speak. So you don't do it. Give me the same courtesy. I ruled on it. I made a decision. So stop doing it. If you want to confer with her, then confer with her and let the court know that. Mr. Pig, next.
Yes, Judge. Page 199, lines 22 through page 200, lines 8, same issue about presenting the witness evidence during his deposition and asking him if at that moment in his deposition that makes him upset.
So if that is going to be the court's position, if they're going to apply the ruling to this, then I ask that it be limited. If the issue is, would you be upset to learn now? In other words, the way that the question was posed is, now are you upset, as opposed to his impression at the time that this incident occurred? Then I would ask that portion of the question be stricken and still allow Mr. Montelongo to answer.
So I just want to confirm what you mean, Ms. Vallando.
Okay.
So it's two parts question. So the problems part, that question you're saying, let that part go. And then you're asking me the way I ruled previously, the second part, would that upset you the way that Wade turned it down, that portion be removed, right?
Yeah, but I'm looking at the question and I think that you're going to disagree with me on that.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure we're on the same page. And that is what you meant, right?
I did mean that,
Okay.
yes.
Judge, unfortunately, I think the way this is phrased, it's impossible to splice it out.
The answer makes me believe there is not a way to splice it out. I was gonna consider what you said, Ms. Vallando, but the answer makes me not be able to splice it out. So I'm gonna sustain the objection and ask that page 199, starting at 22, going to 8 is removed.
Okay, wait, 199, 22.
Line 22, where
Uh-huh.
that question starts, would it upset you to learn? So that whole portion is going out.
Okay,
Because then on 25 again, it says, would that upset you? That would turn that down. And then his response. So that's through 8. We're on the same page.
yes.
Next, Mr. Pig.
No other objections, Judge, but I do have to ask the court for us to go backwards for just one moment for clarity to make sure I understand the court's ruling. On page 198, I thought I heard the court sustain the objection from page 197, line 25 through line 5.
That's correct.
I would just ask the court to consider sustaining the objection through line 7 because the witness actually elicits would have
That
been.
upset you? Do you know, would that upset you? His answer is, would that upset you?
Well, the question.
He's
is-
just asking for clarification. I got it. Okay, so yes. You have anything, Ms. Volandos, or any objection to through 7? Because it's just him confirming. or
So
going-
lines, I thought it was page 197, line 25 is where we're starting the
Yes.
removal.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
But I ruled through 5, and now he's asking if we can eliminate through 7, where he's asking for
Yes.
clarification about the
That's fine.
question. Okay,
Yes.
so 25 through 7. So 197 starting at 25, and then 198 going through line 7.
Yes, Judge. Thank you. And
That's it.
last
That's it.
issue, Judge, is an issue which has come up before concerning certain documents that haven't been admitted into evidence yet, specifically the Way Safety Manual, which is Exhibit 19. I conferred with counsel and both of us are the understanding that that manual is not referenced in Mr. Montalongo's deposition, but if they're going to play their cut, I just ask that they confirm that. Otherwise, we would need to take that up.
That exhibit mentioned.
I'm gonna double check, but it's my understanding that in Mr. Montalongo's deposition, exhibit 19 is not referenced, but I am gonna need about 15-20 minutes to deal with the clips and then go over them with Mr. Pig anyways.
Okay, let's
So,
do that. We can do that.
Okay.
And in response to that, and in response to what they're playing, you have a deposition cut as well.
Yes, Judge.
Have you shared that with them?
I'm sure we can get the one report, but there were no objections to our cuts, so.
yeah,
No objection.
that's true.
Okay, all right. You provided your witness list to them for today?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys have went through any other deposition cuts,
Yeah,
and you have objections for those as well?
we were able to cull a lot of them down. So once we get through Montalongo, we'll probably need to reapproach as to the others, but there are far fewer on the others.
Okay, all right.
Just thinking we take them up as the witness.
Witnesses are called. Okay, I'm okay with that, because
Okay.
everyone may not be called, so you need 15 minutes.
I think that's fair to confer with Joey about
Mr. Pig,
our changes.
that's good for you guys
I'll
as
just need
well?
to read their new run report, but I'm sure it'll be fun.
Okay, and you can have that to him during that 15 minutes, Mr. Joey?
Yes.
All right, 10:45, guys. We'll take a recess. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I thought Mr. Kim was going to go up and argue with her for a bit, but he doesn't. So rude. She continues with Mr. Kim throughout the rest of it, guys.
Not a shout, you guy, you bowling, you want something? What's that? Purple? Stone?
All right, we're close. We're close. This is close enough. Hopefully she takes it off mute. I need to put it on mute because my son is now swearing. I want to live alone. I want to get a little tiny house, like by a little creek, and live alone with one cat and my dog. Of course, my dog goes with me everywhere. I'm not particularly fond of birds myself. I'm just not. I mean, I've had birds before, and loved them, but they're not my favorite animal ever. Owls. I'm very scared of owls, and I guess it rubs off on other birds. All right, Judge, you can unmute at any second now, please.
Well, we are talking to each other.
Francisco Emanuel Montelongo.
Hi, Mr. Montalado, how are you? I know this has been long already, and I'm gonna try and keep this as brief as I can, okay? You and I never met, well, we ever talked to each other, have we?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Bergen asked you several questions about a statement. And it's your testimony today, if I'm understanding you correctly, that you have never read, written, or seen this statement until, correct?
Which statement I was talking about?
The handwritten statement, let's go ahead and put it up, please, and see if this refreshes your memory.
The one I did on the hospital?
Yes, sir. Have you ever seen this before today?
Miss Fabiana showed it to me right before the meeting. I wasn't able to understand most of it because it's handwriting. Very hard.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I think it was because I grew up in the 80s and The Exorcist was a movie, and anything that can turn their head the whole way around is not okay with me. That's where I think it came from.
No. I'd like to go through some of the statements with you, sir, that are contained in here, and I'd just like to know if you can explain them to me or, if you agree with them still, all right? One of the first things on the first page, it says Tuesday, David Laree told Anthony Ramone to get there earlier to start setting up. I wasn't told nothing until Wednesday about 7 a.m. about flying the units onto the 4th floor. Is that accurate? Do you still agree with that statement?
I partially agree with it. I don't remember the time specifically, but I do remember being how the units being flown the same day.
Okay, that's fair enough. So we can both agree that until the day of the incident, you did not know that you would be assisting in these units being unrigged on the 4th floor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Further down in that statement, approximately 2 more lines, it says, started gathering chain balls and skates and come-alongs. Were you in charge, or were you responsible, I guess would be a better way to put it, for gathering the equipment for the 4th floor?
I was not responsible myself. He was team member.
Okay, so other people assisted you from one of the way entities in gathering the chain balls, skates, and come-alongs. Is that fair?
That is fair.
And then it says, cut some wood to put on top of the skates. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Why in the world were you cutting wood to put on top of skates?
Because of the edge of the building, they put up some a form, and that was obstructing I guess the entrance of it. In other words, the edge of the building wasn't straight flat. It had like a little obstruction, like a little, I want to call it what do you call the side of the building?
A curb?
Yeah, curve. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So that curb was made out of what?
I don't remember if it was poured already, but there was food on it either.
So I'm gonna show you some photographs, and I'm gonna ask you if this is what you are talking about. Go ahead, I'm showing you what had previously been marked as way, case number 0001158, and we're gonna make this defense exhibit 1 to your deposition, sir. Is that, the form or the curve that you were talking about, Mr. Montalongo, as depicted in this picture?
Yes.
All right. And
The weirdest thing freaked my mother out back then. Jaws. She was cool with any horror movie. Any horror movie, you know, she rolled with it. No problems. But she saw Jaws, and her response to Jaws was, we never locked our doors, ever locked our house up. I don't even know if we had a key. I have no idea. But she locked all the doors in the house for a couple of weeks after watching Jaws. You know, we live in Pennsylvania, so we're not near an ocean at all. We're nowhere near sharks, but she kept those doors locked.
Will you agree with me now that you looked at this photograph that the actual cement curb had not been made, and this was actually a form for concrete that would eventually be poured, is that correct?
I cannot see if it's been poured or not yet.
Okay, but right now, that is wood that is against the barrier of this wall, correct?
That is correct.
And do you know who placed that barrier on the fourth floor, who constructed that?
I'm guessing the mason or not sure.
So you weren't there when that form was, or that the barrier was constructed, is that fair?
Yeah, I wasn't there.
So you're telling me that one of the reasons you needed to put wood onto skates is that needed to clear the perimeter of that barrier, is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
Because we needed to get the unit inside the building by parts and needed to clear it down. It wouldn't go all the way in.
Alright, so it was important that your skates that you were using on this day be higher than the framing that existed, correct?
Yes, I'm just high enough so it won't be too off the ground.
High enough so that the unit doesn't
Yeah.
actually, high enough that the HVAC unit being lifted in doesn't catch on the barrier, is that fair?
That is fair.
And why is it that taller or higher skates were not ordered instead of using this wood?
I am not sure.
You would agree with me that it would have been a safer practice had taller skates been used for this job, correct?
It would have been safer if we were lower to the ground.
It would have. Not the, but it was an unsafe practice, wasn't it, Mr. Montalongo, to stack wood and expect a 2-ton unit to sit on wood on top of a moving skate? Did you think that was safe?
And every single one of those people that are questioned are using wood on skates right now. They're going to go to work on Monday. And if they have to put wood on a skate to get the load on it, that's what they're going to do, because that's what you do.
At the moment, I didn't thought it was safe, but since we worked the first one that it was successful the first time, I thought it was safe. At first I didn't. After the back of the one, then I thought.
Fair enough. Looking at it now, Mr. Montalongo, do you think that that was the safest way to accomplish the job you were doing out there? And I'm not blaming you, I'm just asking. Would it have been safer to have different types of skates out there?
Yes,
And where did this wood come from that you were, that the crew was piling on top of these skates?
I am not sure. I am not sure. We did cut the wood, but I am not sure what it came from.
And were you responsible for, were you sent out there to cut this wood to put on top of the skates?
Me and Mr. Billy Baldwin, we got it there, yes.
Okay. And who told you to go out and, cut the wood to put on top of these skates?
David Lord,
Do you know who made the decision to use the wood on top of the skates?
not sure who made the decision. Donna,
That it was Mr. Lurie who told you to go cut the wood for the skates, is that correct?
that is correct.
And did you also cut some steel pipe for out there?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you using the steel pipe for?
That will be from roll the union.
So when-
We will put the steel pipe on the ground, and then the unit just will put it on top of it.
So this was to get it from the skates onto the platforms, cement platforms that have been poured for where the units were eventually supposed to sit?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know who made the decision to roll a 2-ton using steel pipe onto a cement platform?
I'm not sure.
And who told you to cut the pipe for this rolling exercise?
David Lowry.
Did you hear anyone tell Mr. Lurie to stack the skates with wood to make them high enough to clear the barrier of the form?
I don't remember nobody telling David to do that. I'm not sure if somebody did.
But as you sit here today, under oath, you know that it was Mr. Lurie who told you to put that wood on top of or cut the wood from top of the skates. Is that fair?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. It's your testimony that it was Mr. Lurie who told you to cut the wood to place it on top of these skates. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
And what's the one around this photo? And we will mark, waive case number 001158, defense exhibit 2 to your deposition. All right, going back to your statement for a minute, if we could, which is exhibit 1. Oh, back up, please. If you will go approximately halfway down page 1 of your statement, since we get it up, I'd like to ask you a few more questions. All right, if you will see, it says we're going to work on level 4. After that, me and Julian flew the pallet of materials equipment to level 4. Do you see that? Okay. And how did you fly the materials and equipment to level 4?
We use a forklift.
Okay, so you use the forklift to bring those up to level 4, correct?
That is correct.
Did you have to use the skates at all during that, portion of the job?
No.
At the bottom of the page, you talk about you were waiting around 11 or 11:45 for the cable railing to be removed. Do you recall that?
I recall, yes. Not sure of the time frame, but yeah, they have to remove the cable with the action.
All right, and it would be fair to say that there was no way to raise either of the HVAC units to the 4th floor with the cable railing in place, correct?
Yeah, they take about 36 inches out of the opening.
And it would also be fair to say that that occurred per your statement before you took lunch 11 to 11:45. Is that about right?
Again, I don't remember the time frame, but
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to page, way 000123, if we could, please. And I'm gonna go down to, about halfway down the page. And it says, I decided that not to look at him anymore. We were waiting for them to finish setting up, and we're deciding which pieces to pick first according to the drawings. And you say, we were deciding.
who was involved in the decision on which pieces would be flown up to the fourth floor first?
I don't remember who was involved. I'm sure it was. I guess the crew.
And when you say the crew, you're talking about the Wade crew.
Yes.
Let's move on to Wade 124, if we could, please. This says the re-rig unit was brought up to level 4, again to level 4. Get it close to the building, lowered to chain falls so unit can enter building. Set it on the skates and slowly pushed it in. Use the come along on the corner left lower to pull it in the building. Who was using the come along? Do you recall, Mr. Montalongo?
I think it was Billy Bowman.
And there was just one chain fall and one come along being used to maneuver this unit into the building by the Wade crew, correct?
That is correct. We had Jim Boss on the crew as well.
Okay, I'm not talking about the rigging on the unit. I'm talking about the equipment that Wade was using to pull the unit in once it was almost operable.
I understand the question. I don't remember what equipment we had.
Okay, so you can't,
I know I know we had equipment on crane and we had equipment on the ground. Exactly what it was, don't recall.
and do you remember at the time of the incident, if anybody was pulling on the chain fall at the, chain fall at the time of the incident?
No, nobody was moving. No, nobody was moving nothing.
Do you, I didn't actually hear Mr. Bergen ask you the question, so I'm gonna ask you. What do you think happened up there that caused this incident?
I am not sure.
Okay, well, you do recall that the unit had been placed on all 4 skates. Do you recall that?
I recall that. I remember we had to bump it up so I can fix the wheels on the skate.
And what was wrong?
Again, most people are saying, I don't know what happened. I don't know why it fell over. I have no idea why this fell over. They're not saying wind. They're not saying it wasn't hooked up right. They're all saying the same thing. I don't know why this happened. If it was wind, you would think that the construction workers who do this every day would say, yeah, it was windy. Or if it wasn't hooked up right, it's like most of us are parents. And, you know, we know babies roll over. So when you change their diaper, you have to stay right with them. But there's been times where the diaper bag is just out of reach. Or you take a diaper off, they peel over themselves, and their new outfit is just out of reach. And, you know, we go for a second to grab that diaper and run back. It's not the safest thing to do. We should carry that baby with us, but we've all done it. We've all reached for something, and that baby didn't roll over. That baby was fine. We just went right there. When I was working in the press room, like if you're ever reading a magazine and there's little lines on the side of ink, little lines, those are waterform marks, okay? Because the ink lays on a plate, and then there's a water roller that washes away from all the spots where the ink isn't supposed to be. Well, sometimes that gets built up with ink, and these rulers are going real fast together, okay? Because the paper's going through it. To get rid of a waterform mark, you have to shut the press down, and you have to clean off those rulers. No pressman is going to do that. No pressman is going to shut a press down for waterform marks, but you got to get them off of there. So what they do is they take something to scrape the ink away while the press is running. Outstandingly dangerous. I mean, people walking around in the press room with, 9 fingers, 8 fingers is an everyday occurrence because of waterform marks, because they don't shut the press down. It's every job we do, we don't do the safest things all the time. We just don't. And like if Bill in the press room lost his finger because he was at a water form mark, I would know right away. I would say, yeah, he was scraping the water form when the press was running. He shouldn't have been doing that. These people are saying, I don't know what happened. I don't know why. And maybe their companies told them to say you don't know. I just find it hard to believe that these construction workers don't know, don't have an idea. The baby's on the floor. I know every single time. Well, you're a nanny. You're a mom. You don't care. Joking. Calm down. Calm down. Baby's on the floor. You know how that happened. You were not supposed to leave that baby alone. You reach behind you to get a diaper. Baby's on the floor. Bill's walking around with 8 fingers. You know what happened. This guy died. Someone has to know what happened. And maybe it's not just one person, right? It's because nannies take care of babies. Moms, nannies are more careful. Nannies are more careful with their children in their charge because they're not their own children. If I was babysitting someone else's kid, I would make sure that that child is perfect before I give them back. That child would not have any bumps or scratches or bruises. That child would be full. That child would have a clean diaper. But my kids, yeah, you can climb up that tree a little higher. Come on, put your back into it. My kid, I can do whatever I want with my kid. If I want him to climb up a tree, he'll climb up a tree. But yeah, someone knows. Someone knows. They're just not saying. But they're definitely not saying the wind blew this over. Maybe someone else will come up. The first ones did. The first one said, "Oh yeah, there was this huge wind gust." But we're going to hear from the meteorologist soon. There was no huge wind gust.
Wheels on these skates.
They were racing cycles.
So these skates did not have walking wheels on them?
No,
Were
No.
you using,
not that I remember.
were you chalking, the skates so that they would not move?
What do you mean?
Were you putting, a chalk next to the tires so that, or the wheels so that the skates would not move?
No, I wasn't doing nothing.
And I don't mean you, I mean the crew. Were you provided with any mechanism that would allow you to keep those skates in place so that they did not move when this 2-ton unit was placed on top of them?
Not that I'm aware of.
When the unit was flown in for the second time, was there wood stacked on top of these skates to get past the barrier on the perimeter wall?
Yes,
Do you know if any of this wood was tested to see if it could withstand 2 tons of equipment placed on top of it?
I don't know.
Which is TNT 0006. I'm gonna show you what we're gonna mark as exhibit 3 to your deposition. Mr. Montalongo, and I will represent to the rest of the council that this is TNT 06. And this is a photograph taken after the incident. There are 2 skates depicted in defendant's exhibit 3. Are those the skates that you were using at the time of the incident?
They do look like it. I'm sure those are the exact ones I was working with. So
And you, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir.
if I was working on the other side, those skates seems to be on the north side of the building, but I was working on the south side.
But were the skates that you are using on the south side of the building similar to the ones that are depicted or shown in exhibit 3?
Yes,
And the wood that is scattered around in exhibit 3 in this photograph, is that the wood that was stacked on top of these skates?
I couldn't tell if it was or not, but
Let's use, TNT 12. Let's see if this photograph helps you a little bit more. You can see that there are 4 skates, in this exhibit 4, which is TNT 0012.
yes, I see the 4 sheets.
Okay. And, do these look like the 4 skates that were being used on the date of your incident?
That is correct.
And the wood that is shown in this photograph, exhibit 4, is that the type of wood that was being used to stack on top of these skates at the time of the incident?
I believe so.
These skates often referred to as rotating skates.
Yes, you call them there.
Have you heard them called that before, Mr. Montalvo?
Yes.
I'm going to show you now what we'll mark as exhibit 5, and it will be TNT 23. Pinch in around the pipe, please. Mr. Montalvo, I'm going to direct your attention to some pipe that is shown in the middle of exhibit 5. Is that the pipe that had been cut to roll the unit onto the platform?
Which type you're referring to? I see 2, 1 longer and a bunch of big ones.
Okay, is any of that pipe the ones that had been cut on that day to use to roll the unit onto the platform?
You would have been the small pipe that is sitting to the left.
So those small pieces of black pipe is what you were what the way crew was utilizing to move a 2-ton unit onto the cement pad.
That is correct.
And you will agree with me once you start that TNT didn't provide you with that pipe, did they?
No,
And TNT did not provide the skates that the way crew was using for this job, did they?
no,
And TNT did not instruct you or anyone else with way to cut wood to stack on top of these skates to make the skates high enough to do this job.
Can you rephrase the question or can you ask me?
Yes, sir, absolutely. No one from TNT instructed the way crew to cut wood to stack it on top of skates to move this unit, did they?
No, they didn't.
Did you consider it a problem that this form, was higher than the skates?
Portion is problem.
I'm sorry,
Portion.
of course. And, did anybody up on the 4th floor discuss this issue and stopping, the job until the proper skates were brought out for you to use?
Now I'm trying to think. Yes, everybody come into Discord. Discord is fun. It's very fun. I'm trying to think if the wood on the skates could have caused it to fall. I mean, I guess if it wasn't seated properly and the wood, I'm trying to wrap my head around if the wood being on the skate would, I can't see how that would make the air conditioner fall 10 feet and crush someone. Because the air conditioner it fell 10 feet. So I don't, maybe Donald knows if it's possible, but what they're saying doesn't make sense to me at all, because it sounds like they lifted the unit up over the CJ, what is it called again? The catawalk, I don't remember. That thing brought the unit in and it went down on these pieces of wood that were on these skates. And it was only hooked up they started unrigging it, but it was only hooked up to 2 instead of 4 onto this cattle water, whatever it was called. I don't remember. So how did it fall down 10 feet? If I mean, no, not a come along. It's that bar cantilever. Thank you, CJ. It had to have still been on the cantilever if it fell 10 feet, right? It could not have been on the skates, right? And so what was it hooked up to? What were the 2 hooked up to? Would it both be on a cantilever and on the skates? And if it was, how did it fall 10 feet? If it was on the skates and on this wood that she's complaining about, how did it fall 10 feet? To me, if it fell 10 feet, it would have to be 10 feet in the air. That's just, I mean, I don't understand. I wish, yes, cantilever. I wish they like recreated it somehow so we could finally see what they mean, because it doesn't make any sense, does it?
Are you asking if did somebody stop us from using those skates and waiting for another set of skates?
No, sir. Did anybody discuss just stopping the job and
Nobody said anything about a cable breaking yet that I remember. It was only hooked up on 2 sides instead of 4.
waiting to get different skates brought out to accomplish this rather than stacking wood on top of the skates?
I don't remember.
Have you ever done this type of job before September 22nd, Mr. Montalongo?
Rolling on the skates?
Yes.
No.
Did you feel comfortable that day doing this job?
Like I said, at first, the first unit that we took up there, I was feeling iffy, but since everything went well, I thought it was safe on the second level.
Now, I believe you testified in response to one of Mr. Bergen's questions that on the day of the incident, at the time of the incident, you couldn't actually tell what the wind was because you were on the south side of the unit. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But before the unit got to the 4th floor, there was no obstructions to wind. Was there a wind problem as that unit was flying up there?
Again, it was very windy in the morning, it calmed down in the afternoon.
Well, you would not have continued working up on the 4th floor, would you, Mr. Montalongo, if the wind had been a dangerous condition?
I would say something, yes.
So you did not consider it to be dangerous at the time this unit was being flown up to the 4th floor?
I was under the impression that the great personnel was looking into it.
And you were asked a number of questions, sir, about your concerns with the anemometer. Do you even know if that anemometer is even connected to the crane or part of the actual crane's equipment?
I mean, it should.
No one from TNT assisted with cutting the wood or, did they?
No,
And nobody from TNT assisted with cutting the, steel pipe, did they?
no,
Where did the steel pipe come from, do you know?
not sure.
Did you or anyone else perform any testing to, determine if the wood used could hold a 2-ton unit?
Not that I'm aware, not sure.
Who told, the Way crew what jobs they would be doing, for the second unit being flown up on the 4th floor?
What do you?
Did somebody tell you what job you would be doing, where you would be standing, and what you would be doing?
Yeah, it was my 40.
And that foreman was Mr. Lurie, correct?
Sorry.
And the TNT flagger at no time told you what your job was going to be up there on that day, did they?
No,
In fact, he didn't tell you where to stand, did he?
no,
Did he tell anybody with way where to stand and what job they'd be doing?
no,
Now, you testified, and told the jury that, you expected that someone should have told you that this unit had tipped over in the TNT yard the day before. That's your testimony, correct?
can you repeat it?
Sure. Do you expect that someone should have told you that the unit fell over in the TNT unit, in the TNT yard the day before because it was unstable and top end?
If it did fall, yes, I believe somebody should have told us.
Okay. And, would you agree with me that if Mr. Lurie knew that this unit had fallen over the day before, it was his responsibility as your supervisor to tell your crew that this had happened?
I don't know if he knew or not.
And just assume with me for now that there is evidence in this case that Mr. Lurie knew. Will you do that for me, sir?
Again, I don't know if he knew or not.
Again, assume with me that there is evidence in this case that Mr. Lurie knew. Would you expect Mr. Lurie to have told you that this unit had fallen over the day before? Mr. Henley was the project manager of the job, correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to show you some deposition testimony from Mr. Hamlin that's been taken in this case. And we'll go ahead and mark this as exhibit 5, I believe. 6, do your deposition. And I'm reading on page 103, and this is a question to Mr. Hamlin. Did TNT ever tell you during that meeting that the unit had flipped over in their yard the previous day? Not in that meeting. Okay, when did they tell you that? I forgot which gentleman, but one gentleman walked up to myself, David Lurie, and maybe one other employee. But I remember us, the three specifically, probably around 9 o'clock, to let us know that the unit had fell at their yard the day before. Did they tell you why it fell over? He said it was top heavy and it fell when they were rigging it up to the truck. So right that morning during the safety meeting, it was learned that the unit had fallen over the prior day and was top heavy and unstable, right? Answer, yes. Did I read that correctly, Mr. Montalongo?
That's what it says to me.
Okay. So, Mr. Hembley has testified under oath that David Lurie knew not only that the unit had fallen over, but it was also top heavy and unstable. Now that you have read that, would you have expected Mr. Lurie to inform you about the unit falling and being top heavy and unstable? It was the right thing to do, wasn't it, to tell you?
Yes. That is correct.
Mr. Montalongo, who was in charge of the wedding crew on the fourth floor?
The hormone was David Lurie.
And do you know who gave the instruction to the flagger to cable up the unit?
I believe it was David Lurie.
Did you actually hear him give the instruction, Mr. Montalongo?
I don't remember if I was there. I think he did.
Now, did Mr. Lurie tell you to go fix the skate or straighten the skate? How did you end up having to do that?
It's on this bit of shape.
Did he tell anybody else before you to do it and they refused?
No, he was from my side, so it's my belief.
Did you hesitate at all?
before you went over there to do that? I mean, is it something that you thought you should be doing with that unit hanging over you?
I don't remember.
But as you look back now, do you think that that was the right instruction to give you to go do?
Knowing what happened. Or
Should anyone have ever been instructed to get underneath that unit to straighten the skate?
at that time, it seemed like safer way to fix the little. That, at that
And
time,
what,
thinking,
okay, but looking back at it now, what could you have done, not you, what could the way crew have done differently to straighten that skate other than sending you under them?
not sure.
Could you have lifted the unit completely off all four skates and just started it over again with a skate?
That would have made it more dangerous,
And why's that?
because you're removing the danger.
Because why, sir?
Because you're removing the whole unit again. If you,
Okay, so
we're doing the work,
all right, so taking more time and just lifting the unit up with four straps, usually, or four chain balls, would have been more dangerous than sending somebody under the unit to straighten it?
you would have more factors that could have gone wrong.
So do you have any suggestion now on how that could have been done better than it was on the day of the incident?
If the wood of the edge of the building, if that would have been there, and we would have lower height, lower ground, more ground level. I mean, that would have been safer. Instead of being.
Could that wood, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Montalvo. Could that wood frame have been removed prior to flying that unit in?
I'm sure, yes.
And that would have been the safer thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yes, that way the unit would have entered to a low ground.
And those skates, even with the wood stacked on top of it, it was still lower than the form, wasn't it?
Yes,
Do you have a belief as you sit here today? Why that unit tipped over?
do I have a what?
Do you have a belief as you sit here today as to what caused that unit to tip over?
Again, it was serious factors. Not
And
sure.
one of the major ones was the very skates that you were using, that was being used, were lower than the frame around the perimeter.
Yes. That's one of the factors. One of the main factors.
Did you know that it was TNT that successfully straightened and raised this unit after the incident? And they are the ones with their specialty rigging crew and a cantilever bar placed and set in January after this incident.
Just an FYI, people, you can't go to my my Facebook anymore. It's been taken away from me. I've been censored. I've been kicked off of Facebook. So don't bother going to Court 5's Facebook.
You heard them?
I was told.
And who told you that?
Uh,
Your attorney ever went on?
No, it was, Danny Knight. The bummer foreman.
And did you know that that lift and the setting and the placement of that unit went without incident? Did you hear that too?
Yes,
Did you know that the way entities were offered a cantilever bar to do the lift on the date of your incident?
and they turned it down. Did you know that?
My lawyer informed me that.
Again, Ms. Montalonga, I'm not asking you anything that, your attorney has told you. But other than your lawyer, have you ever heard that TNT suggested to Way that they use cantilever bar to place this unit into the fourth floor?
No, I never heard that before.
Did you know that by using a cantilever bar, there would have been no reason whatsoever to disconnect two of the chain falls from that unit? And that the cantilever bar actually allowed the unit to go into the building 100% without disconnecting? Did you know that? Did you know that TNT also suggested to Way that they said that especially Ricky?
Okay, what did she just say? What? If they would have used a cantilever, this would have went right into the building. Does that mean by that question that they did not use a cantilever? Because that's the only thing that made sense of this dropping 10 feet. If this air conditioning unit is on wood that are on skates that are on the fourth floor, how does it fall down 10 feet? I could tip over. Okay, I can understand that if it tipped over. That's not what they said. It fell 10 feet. Unless, nope. I don't know what. None of this makes sense. I don't understand.
To unrig and set this unit, and that also was turned down for the September 22nd lift. Did you know that?
I do. Mr. Montalongo, I am Ford Hamilton, here, and I represent, Way Industries and Way Engineering and Way Mechanical, all those, okay? Okay, so, as I understand it, you're an employee of SCG, which does business as Way Mechanical.
That's correct.
Okay, and you've been with them since approximately a month before the accident?
That's correct.
Okay, you're currently an assistant project manager.
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Lurie, you say you work for Way Engineer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how do you know you work for Way Engineer?
How do I know if it worked for
Yeah,
me?
how did you know he was an employee of Way Engineering?
He was based out of Houston.
Okay.
And usually Way Mechanical is only for Way Industries, the way his structure is Way Mechanical being in Dallas, Austin, and Antonio. Way Engineering being Houston. That's the union company.
Okay, had you ever met Mr. Lurie before?
Before the accident or before?
Before that particular job at UTSA, or UTSA?
That was the first job, yeah.
And you said Mr. Lurie was up on the fourth floor and he was supervising some other pipe fitters. Is that correct?
That is correct. He was a foreman.
Okay. Did you ever get a chance to actually talk to Ms. Lurie before the day of the accident on the job site?
Before the day of the accident on the job site?
Not on that particular day, but while on the job, have you ever spoken with Mr. Lurie?
Yeah, I was working under him, so I had.
Okay, so he was your supervisor.
Yes.
Okay. And who told you that he was supposed to be your supervisor?
When I applied for the work and they told me, do the onboarding, do drug testing and all this, so then I guess HR told me, gave me the number for Dave Lloyd. I could call them and coordinate when was my first day supposed to be at. So I guess HR, whenever I got hired, they gave me.
Did you ever see Mr. Lurie run? Did Mr. Lurie ever run a safety meeting while you were there?
We did have safety talks, yes.
Okay, and was he ever, because he was the supervisor for your unit, was he ever in charge of that unit? Or doing the talk, the safety talk,
On the unit?
or on your little, I guess, team?
Oh, okay, yes, yes, of course, she was the person in charge, he will conduct the safety meetings and then direct us on what to basically when they like do this, you that.
Did you watch the unit that was, as it was being flung out to the fourth floor?
I think this was 2021. I think.
Yes,
The second time it came up, were you watching it?
yes. Well, let me, if I might speak, the first lift that we did, the one that we did successfully, that one we lifted the first time, and then we had to go down and bring it, get it up there, and then we successfully put it in there.
And it was actually Mr. Lurie who gave instructions to the crane operator to change the straps to chain falls. Is that correct?
I don't remember if it was him, but it was discussed between the flagger and David Lurie.
Oh, okay. Two things I gotta say. Yeah, it is still very, 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 very funny. If you've never seen Eddie Murphy in Raw, you gotta go watch because it is hilarious to this day. It aged well. Second, the accident was in 2021. Wait, and now I lost the comment. What year was this? Here. What year was this? The accident was in 2021. This trial just ended a couple days ago. This trial was a big, big, huge trial in Texas with Texas' most biggest lawyer ever, Busby, Anthony Busby. And it just ended.
So when we got the unit up there the first time, once we got the unit up there, we saw that it wasn't gonna work. We put it down and then get back in.
Did you actually watch the second lift as it came up?
I don't remember seeing the hole from the ground up. I remember seeing it on the air and getting closer.
Was it rocking or shaking at all because of wind?
It was rocking, cannot say what was the cause because the crane had to rotate. As when you make a lift and you rotate, of course, the unit is gonna wiggle.
But you had to have been fairly close to the edge of that building while you were watching that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had no concern about the wind speed being that close to the edge of the building?
I didn't thought so out of mind.
So, I mean, we can assume if you're standing there at the edge of the building, there wasn't enough wind that you were concerned about the wind for any reason, were you?
No, I mean, I was on the edge. If I would have been concerned, I would have been on the edge.
Did Lurie allow anyone else other than you and he, to maneuver the unit into the building on the second time? Was it just the two of you working to bring it in?
I had a pole with I had a stick with a hook on there to pull the tie wire, the tall tie rope. That way I could pull it inside.
Is that the tagline?
The tie comes, yeah.
Okay. So you were actually using the hook to pull the tagline in, correct? And did the tagline get disconnected from the unit by the?
Okay, this is a different thing. This might have answered a question that I've been having for a while. Yeah, it goes up. They weren't using a cantilever, so that didn't pull the unit in. They lift it up, and over. But how do they get it into the building? How do they get it in? They're saying something new. I don't know if they're saying tie line, or tide line, but it's something else. This might be how they got the unit in, although it doesn't make sense because I feel if you use a line to pull it in, so I want to use a prop, but I don't have anything good. If it's on the crane hanging, right? It's on the crane. If they use a line to pull it in, I don't feel it goes in. I feel it goes like a swing. You know what I mean? So if they use it to pull it in, it's not going to pull it in straight. So doesn't explain at all. It almost starts to explain that they're pulling this unit in with something. Tide line or tie line, tag line. Oh, yeah, they said that before. Oh, they just said it differently now. Okay. So does it make sense? Because if you're using a tagline to pull it in, like it has to go in straight, but the crane stops here. I wish they would explain this. They said something about a hook. Still the same problem. The bottom will be pulled in, but the top is still hooked up to the crane. Unless they pull it from the top. So here's the air conditioning unit, my earphone. They bit the cord completely. My cats bit off the other ear. And now they bit this cord completely. It's like, so I can't use these anymore. Anyway. So here's the crane. So if they pull it from the bottom, it's just going to go, it's not going to go great. Okay. So that's what they're saying. A tagline it's not something that you pull the unit in with. It's just to keep it from moving, but it's not used to pull the whole unit in with. And I don't understand how they would pull the unit in, because again, if they pull it from the top, that would make sense. If they pull it from like up here, but if they pull it from underneath, it's just going to go up. It's not going to go in. You know what? I'm going to have to get a job on a construction site just so that I understand what the hell's going on in this trial. And I will.
The line you were using, the pole you were using?
I don't think it was disconnected.
Do you know if the other tagline on the other side was disconnected by anyone?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know who was on either tagline as the unit was coming in?
I know, I don't remember.
Were you on one of the taglines? Were you actually using the tagline?
I think, yes, I think I couldn't remember, but that was part of my duty.
The part of your job was to actually use the tagline to help maneuver the unit into the building, correct?
That's correct.
And who told you to do that?
Dealing with harness, so yes, that was my duty and was struck by the employee.
Did Mr. Lurie allow anyone else around the unit other than you and he? Was there anybody else in the area that I think what has been referred to as the danger zone?
I was the only one in there. David wasn't wearing a harness, so he was not dangerous.
Okay, so literally you were the only crew member that was within the danger zone when the unit was being lifted in, correct?
That is correct.
And that is because you are the only crew member other that had a harness on, is that correct?
I wasn't the only.
Okay, who else did?
Alexis was wearing also safety harness. He was the other way, on the other side.
Okay, but Alexis was never within that danger zone, was he?
He was.
Oh, he was, okay, what was he doing?
He worked with chainsaw.
So he was actually pulling the chainsaw?
Yes. So did I.
And you did too, the same chain fall that he was using or a separate one?
There were two chain falls on each side.
And we're not talking about the chain falls that are part of the rigging of the crane. We're talking about the chain falls being used to maneuver the unit in, correct?
We're talking about the.
Okay, all right. Who was using the chain fall to maneuver the unit into, the fourth floor?
It was a camera along, it was being involved in and that room.
So it was Billy Baldwin that was pulling on the chain fall when the unit was being placed on the skates. Come along, he was using the come along. Was anyone using the chain fall to help maneuver the unit? Or was only a come along on one side of this, unit being utilized?
Again, I don't remember if it was the mounts or chain falls, but I'm sure. He was.
Because it only makes sense that there be either a chain fall and come along on both sides of the unit. There's no reason to just pull on one side of the unit, is there?
That is correct.
Yeah, because that makes the unit unstable, wouldn't it, if it had heated on all four skates?
Yes, you wanted to go straight.
So if the unit is actually on 3 of the 4 skates and someone was pulling only on one side of the unit, that would further cause instability to that unit, wouldn't it?
That might be a reason, I'm not sure.
Especially if it's sitting on top of wood on skates, correct?
I believe so. Not sure.
Defense, are you ready to proceed?
Plaintiff is ready, 57 minutes, Your Honor.
Okay. So what happened is, I don't know that lunch is here yet. I'll stop it in the middle. How long is it?
57 minutes.
Okay. When the deputy comes back, I'll probably stop at around 12:05, just to let you know, Mr. Carlo.
Thank you.
Tell us your name, sir.
Francisco Emmanuel Montelongo.
I represent the family of David Reed relating to that September 2021 accident. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
On the day that you were injured, you were working for a company called SCG Mechanical, doing business as Wade Mechanical. Is that true?
That is correct.
You still work at that company?
That is correct.
Tell me your job title on the day you were injured.
Pipe fitter.
And you had been working for them for approximately 1 month. Is that true?
Time of the accident, yes.
Okay. And you're still employed by that company, true?
That is correct.
You tell me what your job title is now?
Assistant project manager.
Okay, so you got promotion since that, true?
That is correct.
You're working full time?
Yes, sir.
I understand you were out of work for a few months after this incident, true?
That is true.
Let's just see if you and I can identify a few folks that were working up there with you on the 4th floor. Can we do that?
Okay.
One of them is Alexis Perez. You know who he is, right?
No, sir. That was the person, that day was the person working with him.
Now, another fellow up there is somebody by the name of Billy Baldwin. You know him?
Yes, sir.
He works for SCG Mechanical too, right?
That is correct.
He was a pipe fitter too on September 22nd, right?
He was, pipe fitter welder.
Pipe fitter / welder. And is he still working for SCG Mechanical?
Yes, sir.
And what's his job title now?
He's, welder and believe he is, lead man.
Lead man, okay. Is that similar to a foreman?
It's underneath foreman.
It's underneath the foreman, okay. He's still got, he sounds like he's got some sort of promotion though, since this incident happened. Is that fair?
Yes.
Anthony Ramon. You know who that is?
Yes, sir.
Does he work on the day of this incident? He was employed by SCG Mechanical.
Yes, sir.
And does he still work for SCG Mechanical?
No, sir.
What was his job title on the day of this incident?
Also pipe fitter. leave me also.
Okay, and is it your understanding he left that company at some point after this incident?
Yes, sir.
So, just so we're clear, in terms of the folks that were up on the fourth floor, the only individual you're aware of that worked for Way Engineering was David LaRue, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, obviously, the lift operation that we're here to talk about today relates to two HVAC units that were in the process of being installed on the fourth floor of this building, right?
Yes, sir.
And by the way, sir, are you a qualified, certified rigger?
No, sir.
Have you ever served as a rigger on a lift operation prior to the one we're here to talk about today?
Not as a lead rigger, but helping out, yes.
On the day of this incident, you and some of the other Way Mechanical fellows up there, and at least one employee for Way Engineering, were assisting TNT with unrigging this load. Is that true?
That's right.
And you've heard the term rigger, right?
Sure.
And that's the process where you have to rig up the load at the bottom and then you have to unrig the load at the top, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you're going to be involved in rigging up or unrigging a load, you would agree with me that you have to be a qualified or a certified rigger, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and as far as you know, other than the TNT fella up on the fourth floor, there was nobody that was a qualified, certified rigger, was there?
Other than the rigger that also there, no.
And when you hire a company like TNT to perform a lift, you're relying on their expertise, right?
Yes.
And on the day that this crane company, TNT, came out to this particular job site, you were relying on their expertise as a crane company, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
I mean, because at the end of the day, the buck stops with them, right? And you know, as somebody that's been involved in the construction business, it sounds like for a number of years, is that fair?
That is fair.
That the number one person on a crane operation is the crane operator, right?
Let me, so what do you mean with the main person is the crane operator?
When you're talking about the number one person in charge of a lift, that's always the crane, right?
Yes, to my knowledge, it will be the flagger, whoever's giving directions to the driver,
Okay.
the operator.
This, okay, and in this particular instance, you and I can agree the flagger or the radial man was Juan Garcia, who was up on the fourth floor with y'all, right?
I am not sure what was his name.
Okay, but you know he was a flagger / radial man for TNT, right?
I am aware that there was a radio and flagger up there. I'm not sure what was his name.
But you would say, look, David, that individual would be overall responsible because they have to communicate hazard and dangerous conditions to the crane operator down below, right?
Yes, radio man, the flagger, yes.
And when you're talking about getting a unit like this into the fourth floor of a building, crane operator can't always see everyone, can you?
No, he won't be asked, but he relies on the flagger.
That's right. That's why you would say, look, David, the most important person on a lift operation like this is the spotter / signal person, because he is the one that has to communicate with the crane operator down below, right? He is the one that has to communicate to the crane operator if there are dangerous conditions that warrant that the lift be stopped altogether, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if he sees that a unit has been unhooked on two sides, what you don't do is you don't radio down to the crane operator to cable up on an unsecured load, right? If you've got pipe fitters like yourself and David Marie that are working right up next to a load like this, you absolutely have a responsibility to make sure that you get those fellows out of the way before you tell your crane operator to lift up, right?
Yes.
Because if you don't do that, that's flat out dangerous, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And we know in this case that spotter and flagger He was working for TNT, wasn't
Yes, sir.
he? He had a radio in his hand, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
He was communicating with the crane operator down in the cabin, right?
That is correct.
And an order was given to cable up on that unsecured load when you guys were right next to that, right next to this unit, and that was flat out dangerous, wasn't it?
That is correct.
What he should have done is made sure hardworking guys like you and Mr. Lurie got clear of the danger zone before giving that order, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you, sir, who I understand was terribly injured as a result of this, if you had to point the finger at one major reason that this unit fell over on you two gentlemen, you would say that crane operator and that signal person, they did not communicate the safe way, right?
It was a serious event, so I wouldn't blame on only one person, but yes, they should not raise it.
I mean, if you had to point to one particular factor, and what I heard from you is you think there's a few factors that caused your injury. Is that fair?
That is fair, and yes,
But one of the main factors that you and I can agree on is that TNT signal man gave an order to the crane operator over the radio to cable up on an unsecured load with two pipe fitters standing right next to him, right?
yes, sir.
And that's unsafe, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And that is one of the major reasons you were injured and David Lurie lost his life, right? You would say as a spotter and flagger up there, step number one, you have to make sure that every pipe fitter, it gets clear from the danger zone and gets out of the way of this unit before you give the order to cable up. Fair?
Fair.
One of the responsibilities for that TNT spotter and flagger was to make sure that you and David Lurie were out of the way before that order to cable up was given, right?
Yes, sir.
And certainly you would agree with me that a crane operator and a flagger have to make sure that uncertified folks don't assist them with unregulated loading, right? And
Yes.
so we've talked about at least two incredibly huge failures by TNT that contributed to your injuries in this case. One of which is that the crane operator and the flagger had uncertified pipe fitters right up in the danger zone assisting with the unrated, right? I didn't get this one, Father. And the second thing is that crane operator gave a very unsafe order to that crane operator to cable up on an unsecured load without making sure that you and David Lurie got out of the way. Is that fair?
Objection point.
If you had to point to two major contributing factors, those two would be, those would be at least two you would focus on. Right?
I will think it was more than two factors, not only two.
At least those two, fair.
More than,
I get it. Okay. It was at least those two factors, but there were others as well, fair.
Objection.
Mr. Montalongo, a minute ago, we were talking about some of the causes of why this unit fell over and terribly injured you. Do you remember that?
yes, sir.
And we focused in on two of them, one of which was a terribly unsafe order that was given by the crane flagger and radio man to the crane operator to cable up on an unsecured load with two pipe fitters in the danger zone, right? Sir?
Yes.
Sir, if you'll help me out, will you speak up just a little bit? I'm having a difficult time hearing you. We're doing this by Zoom. And I want to make sure that we get a really clear record. And so you're somewhat soft spoken. Will you speak up just a hair and help me with that?
Yeah. You hear me?
I
It's because we're just playing a deposition right now. That's why. It's just a deposition.
can't hear you a lot better, okay? I know we're doing this virtually, but that would help out if you speak up, okay? I took a look at your lawsuit in this case. I'm going to show it to you. I've marked it as exhibit number 26. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know when this pops up.
Is there?
Okay, right at the very top, this identifies you. And it looks like your wife is the plaintiff, is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Reyes, is that your wife?
Yes, that's my wife.
Okay, and you guys, sued a number of individuals that are identified here. You see those entities?
Yes, I did.
One of the things that's identified on the second page is a fact section. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
I want to zoom in so it's a little bit clearer. Is that better?
Yes, sir.
And what's identified here is, and by the way, let me just ask you point blank, have you ever seen a copy of your lawsuit before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so this isn't something you're looking at for the first time, is that fair?
That's fair.
And one of the things that you point out as being one of the major causes of this unit falling over on you is exactly what we just discussed, that a TNT employee was operating a TNT crane with a heavy unit on it, lifted the unit when it was unrigged. You see that?
Yes, sir, I see that.
And that's what we were talking to and getting to just a minute ago, right?
Yes, sir.
There was a decision made by a crane operator to lift up a load when it was unsecured, right?
Yes, sir.
And that information was given to him by a TNT flagger on the fourth floor that had a radio, right?
Yes, sir.
And you made it very clear in your lawsuit. In fact, the only allegation you make against TNT was that the TNT employee who flagged the TNT's crane operator to lift the heavy unit did so when it was unsafe to do so. You see that language?
Yeah, I see the language.
And that caused the incident in question. You see that?
I see that.
And what I'm hearing from you is, you and I talked about that just in a minute, and we are totally in agreement that that was one of the major causes of why you were in, fair?
It was one of many.
Okay, but in all fairness to what you put in a lawsuit that you've had an opportunity to review, that is the main cause and reason this unit fell over.
It was one of many.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as exhibit number 28. What do you want me to see, sir?
Okay, I see it.
Okay. Have you ever seen a incident report from the day before your interview?
No, sir. Never seen that before.
In other words, is this the first time you're seeing it right now?
Yes, sir.
This is an incident report that you can see the date is one day before your injury. You see that?
It's not showing.
Yeah, it's not. There it is. You see it?
Yes, sir.
This is an incident that happened at the San Antonio branch yard of TNT. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And the time of the event is late afternoon, early evening. You see that?
Yes, sir. I can see that.
And there was an incident that was reported by TNT that the unit was extremely top heavy, rolled into chokers, causing it to tip over on the ground. You see that?
I can see that.
And what you're telling me under oath today, sir, is you have never seen the incident report from when this unit fell over the night before until right now, right?
Right now, yes, that is correct. I never seen that report before.
But you found out sometime after the incident that the unit had fallen over the previous day?
Over the word of mouth, yes.
Okay. Because I visited with Billy Baldwin He was another wave mechanical fellow you were working with up there, right?
Yes, sir.
And he said the exact same thing. Let me pull it up and show it to you. I marked it as exhibit number 32. I want to show you what he says, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. Can I do that?
Yes, sir.
Gonna go down to page number 88. Actually 87, line 23. And he says, I learned some things today that I didn't know before. You see that language?
Yes, sir, I see that.
He learned that we were not told that it had fallen over once and was extremely prone to it. You see that language?
Under, moving on. Yeah, I see the language, but I do not understand it.
And I was asking him about this statement I just showed you that you hadn't seen before today. And nobody had ever told him before his deposition that this unit was unstable, top heavy, and had fallen over the prior day. And what I'm hearing from you is nobody told you that either before this incident, right?
Not before the incident, no, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Carlos. At this time, we are going to recess for 45 minutes, 12 o'clock. We'll be back at 12:45. Please excuse, the jury can be excused.
All rise.
Hey, Kelly. I didn't read your text yet. I'm working on it. I just need to know, is today your birthday? What day is your birthday? 24th? Kelly, when is Kelly's birthday, guys? Is it the 24th or the 20th? No, it's not 24th. When is your birthday? Oh my gosh, it's tomorrow, guys. I can't play that short right now, Kelly. From Richard Pryor, but I can play it afterwards. Yeah, I see the other one. Yeah, it's happening all over. Okay. I'm going to do about 10 more minutes. I'm going to set up OJ. Guys, tomorrow's Kelly's birthday, and we're going to celebrate it tomorrow.
It's kind of fun. I would imagine you're not allowed to say anything.
So YouTube's algorithms won't suggest my videos to anybody if I continue to play lives with monetization off. So I'm going to go monetization on, monetization off, and see if, because it's completely stopped showing my videos to new people. So I have to turn it on every once in a while, because YouTube they just won't allow me to do my channel like I want to, guys. They just won't allow me. So I gotta do what they tell me to do. I didn't realize though that it was on for this one. but it was on this whole time. So tomorrow it won't be on. I don't know how it got on. Usually I have to turn it on myself and I do it way after the video. But yeah, tomorrow it won't be like that. If you see ads tomorrow, yell at me. They're not making any money if I don't play ads. YouTube is not making any money. So they will not list my videos in any in any of the people's home pages or anything like that, because I'm not making them any money if I don't play ads. When I'm 64. What a good song. I love that song.
Yeah, yeah. He allegedly was part of that show campaign. So that's really how he solved the opportunities. They just give me this stuff. I had a smile there. Was he have a plane? Was he have two?
You're just standing there. Ready? Ready.
All rise.
Thank you. You may be seated. Defense, you can proceed with the next witness.
All right, we're continuing to
Oh.
follow the video.
I apologize. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, plaintiffs. You can proceed.
37 minutes left.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And what you're saying is, hey, this company that wrote this witness statement, they never told, as far as I know, anybody up there on the fourth floor that this unit was top heavy, unstable, and had fallen over, right?
They didn't told me.
I mean, you didn't hear any instructions from TNT on that issue before this unit fell over, right?
They didn't told me.
I mean, if you had learned and TNT had told you guys this unit was so top heavy and so unstable, you would have been nowhere near this thing. Is that fair, sir?
Yes, sir.
Because that's critical information that has to be communicated to the pipe fitters that are up on that fourth floor, right?
Yes, sir. Okay.
But common sense would tell you that if somebody had told anybody up there that this unit was dangerous, top heavy, unstable, and had flipped over the previous day, nobody would be near that lift, right?
We would have done something different, like Fields Walton said.
You know what a spotter is, don't you?
The flagger, yes.
The goal of, well, some people call it a flagger. Some people call it a spotter. When I use the term spotter, I'm talking about a radio man that has to spot hazards, communicate those to the ground. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
And we know that there was a spotter, a flagger, a signal man for TNT up on the fourth floor, right?
That is correct.
His job on behalf of this company that knew this unit had fallen over in their yard the previous day was to spot that hazard and to make sure you guys stayed clear. True?
Again, I don't know if he was aware that the unit had failed before.
Oh, you don't even know if he knew, right?
That is correct.
But if he's a spotter, I mean, that is absolutely something he should know because he has to be able to spot that hazard and tell you guys and tell the crane operator, right?
I agree.
As far as you know, he didn't warn any of you up on the fourth floor that that hazard existed and should be avoided. Fair?
Again, he didn't notify me. I'm not sure if he notified somebody else.
Did anybody show you the plan that was created in this case?
No, sir.
Have you even seen it today as you sit here today?
No, sir.
Let me show it to you real quick. And you're a assistant project manager for SEG Mechanical, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you know, or have you been taught what should or should not be included in a rigging plan or a lift plan?
I have some knowledge.
You have some knowledge. Is that based on training you've received from Wave Mechanical?
That is based on projects that I know.
While at Wave Mechanical?
Yes, sir.
And what you and I learned is there were some hazards that arose during lift operation that nobody told you about, did they? The other thing that should have been discussed in this case is the fact that there was numerous complaints of wind that morning, right?
That is correct, sir.
I mean, you would agree, and I visited with Mike Campbell and Billy Baldwin, a bunch of fellows out there. Did you know that?
Do I know what?
Did you know that I've deposed and taken the deposition of a number of gentlemen that were out there the day that you were injured? Did you know that?
Well, I only knew about baseball because you just showed me some paperwork.
Okay. And did you read his
Absolutely.
deposition? Did you read his deposition transcript?
The only thing I read is the whatever you showed me a couple minutes back.
I mean, there was all sorts of hazards that you guys encountered up there on the fourth floor that was never communicated to y'all, was it?
Correct.
I'm gonna show you what I've marked as exhibit number 32. Let's see here. Earlier, we were looking at Billy Baldwin's testimony. You remember that?
I remember. Yes, I remember that.
Remember this? Okay. I want to go to page 29. I want to show you something I learned from Billy and get your thoughts on it. Can I do that?
Yes, sir.
I had a discussion with him about the wind. And he made the comment, one of the things he noticed is that it was so windy that the flags were at full mast. Do you see that?
Yes, sir, I see that.
Is that your recollection?
I remember it was windy in the morning. Yes.
And there was a discussion that was had that it may be too windy that day to move forward with the operation. You see that?
Yes, sir, I see that, and we did talk about that it might be too windy.
Okay, well, let me ask a follow-up question first. Y'all talked it out first thing in the morning that it may be too windy for the lift?
Yes, sir, in the morning it was real windy.
You and I were talking about the pre-pick safety meeting that the superintendent is supposed to run just a few minutes ago. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
This is absolutely one of the hazards that should have been discussed with everybody involved. First thing in the morning during the pre-pick safety meeting, right?
That's correct.
What I'm hearing from you is that it was so windy, a number of you pipe fitters were complaining that it was too windy to move forward with the operation, right?
We discussed being windy. We were not sure it was too windy to do the lift.
Because again, you guys are pipe fitters, y'all aren't crane experts, right?
Yes, sir. We're not crazy.
I mean, you would be relying on folks with expertise in that area to tell crew members like you and the other fellows up there if something is or is not too windy to move forward with the lift operation, right?
That is correct.
You know what a wind gauge or an anemometer is, don't you?
It's a device that will measure the wind speed. Yes,
It's
sir.
located and you can actually read it, it's right inside the cab, right?
I'm not sure of the location. I know one of the devices will be on top of the crane.
Right, it takes a reading from the top of the crane, right?
Yes, sir.
And it tells the crane operator to the side of the cab what the wind speeds are at the time, right?
That is correct, sir.
That's an important safety device, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You would expect the crane operator to know if it is or is not too windy for the lift, right?
Sure.
And if he's got a broken anemometer, that's something he needs to tell you guys who are working up on the fourth floor, right?
Not sure if he should inform us, but if he doesn't have a way to read it, then I understand that it's a safety hazard.
That's dangerous, isn't it? And if it's broken, your safety device used to measure the wind speed is broken. He should at a minimum raise that issue during the pre-pick meeting, right?
Yes, sir, but again, as an assistant project manager, I would make sure that the inspections are completed on that crane.
What you're saying is that there are guys in the morning that are repeatedly complaining that it's too windy for the lift. The superintendent that's running that safety meeting needs to get the crane operator to figure out what the wind speeds are, right?
Yes, sir.
If the crane operator and superintendent find out, uh-oh, my safety device, my wind gauge is broken. Hang on a second. We've got to stop the lift operation before we just continue to continue with the lift, right?
That is correct.
What you don't do is ignore repeated complaints in the morning that it's too windy for the lift and just continue anyways, right? That's dangerous, isn't it?
It is serious.
And you and I would agree that at that point, there was a number of individuals that were complaining that it was too windy for the lift, weren't they?
As far as I'm aware, it was me being involved when, actually, our morning we'll have that discussion about the wind.
And the time to address that and get everyone together before you commence with the lift is during the pre-pick meeting run by the superintendent. Speak up, sir.
That is correct, sir.
And you would say the two individuals, at least as far as you're aware, that would have had responsibility to address that issue during the pre-pick meeting would have been the project superintendent, Israel Perez from Burn Construction, right?
Yes, sir.
And the crane operator who's sitting in the cab with the wind gauge, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you find out afterwards that TNT's wind gauge, the anemometer, is broken?
I was informed that the reader was broken not too long ago.
Was that upsetting to find that out?
I was devastated when I heard that.
As you would expect, any crane operator doing their job to address that before commencing the lift, right?
Yes, sir.
You and the Lurie family want to know how that sort of failure could not have been reported and addressed, right?
Yes, sir.
Because it should have been addressed, right?
Sure. That is correct.
And no excuse for signing off on a crane inspection report. By the way, have you seen the crane operator's crane inspection report in the morning of this incident?
I have not seen it.
Do you know he signed off that everything in his crane cab was working just fine?
I haven't seen the report.
Well, we know that's a lie now, because we know his anemometer was broken, don't we?
I haven't seen the report, so I'm not sure. If you put that everything was corrected and the anemometer was broken, then yes.
That would be creating false document claim.
By definition, yes.
And would you agree with me, sir, as an eyewitness up on that fourth floor, having experienced and heard and complained about the wind that day, that one of the reasons this unit fell over onto you and tragically injured you was because a gust of wind came and played a role in this unit falling over?
I didn't feel the wind when I was there. Because if it did, I was sitting on the south end of the unit. If the wind blew out, I couldn't know. The unit itself was locked.
That's fair. In other words, you were on the side that would have been where the unit would have been shielding you from the wind, fair?
Yes, sir. Yes. That's what I'm.
The only thing you know is that it was windy that day. Y'all were concerned about it, and you thought it was so windy, it potentially should have resulted in the lift being suspended, right?
Not in the morning, yes, sir. In the morning, it was more windy than it was in the afternoon.
And the next one is ultimately the crane operator is supposed to make the call. And he didn't do anything, as far as you know, to determine whether or not the wind conditions out there posed a hazard and required the lift to be halted or called off altogether, right?
Yes, sir.
You see that language.
Yes, sir. I see that.
You agree with that, don't you?
I,
You don't know anything about that safety meeting, other than you and some of the fellows on the fourth floor were raising the exact same complaint, right?
yes, we were having the same complaint, yes.
And sitting here today, because this unit was blocking the wind, you don't know if the wind blew this unit over, is that fair?
That is Thursday.
Let me show you what I've marked as exhibit number 3. And just between the two of us, I think this is the one that you did in the hospital, but you tell me, okay?
That might be, yeah. That is on my handwriting, and,
Okay.
do you have a date?
No, it has your name at the top, and it has all your thoughts, so is it possible somebody wrote this down while you were in the hospital?
The statement, the statement that I did on the hospital, I was me talking to somebody who was way mechanical.
Yeah.
And they wrote everything, and I wasn't able to read it.
This is your signature?
Yes,
Okay, and this one looks like it's dated, I'm seeing 9/29/21. You see that?
yeah.
About a week afterwards, fair?
As
And-
you can see,
and all-
my handwriting, I was very medicated. I still in the hospital.
I hear you. It sounds like at this point you were catastrophically injured and were trying your best to recover, right?
Yes, sir.
And what it sounds like is somebody went there, well, everything was fresh in your mind, you wanted to get an idea of what your thoughts were on what happened out there, right?
Yes, sir.
And what I'm hearing from you is, look, hey, somebody from my company transcribed this as I told it to them, but I didn't write this, somebody from my company wrote this down.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to read it the first time.
Okay. But nevertheless, as you explained, by the way, who from the company wrote it down?
Yes, sir.
Who from the company wrote it down?
I know he was on safety. That was the person last time I remember seeing him. Don't remember the name again.
Is, the only guy I've come up with that's in the safety department that seemed to have looked into this was a Mark Forrest guy. Does that sound right to you?
Not sure.
Did you meet with, was there anybody else present? Or was it just two?
It was the two of us.
Okay. So you tell him what happened, he writes it down, and then you put your signature and date on it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you reviewed this recently?
Miss Fabiana showed it to me before the meeting, but I couldn't understand most of it.
Okay. In other words, I want to hear what she told you. Okay. But you have looked at this recently, sir.
Fair.
Because what this makes pretty clear is y'all went to lunch somewhere around 11 to 11:45, is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And then, and no doubt about it, makes it pretty clear that, that y'all didn't find out anything about flying the units up to the fourth floor until sometime around 7 a.m.
That's what I said, sir.
Is that sure?
I don't remember.
Okay. We're gonna break there for the day. Whew. I'm more confused. The more this court goes on, the more confused I get. So I'm just gonna watch this court and ignore it. I was watching Perry Mason last night. So stupid. Gosh. Oh, you've not watched Perry Mason since you started watching court videos and understand how a courtroom works more. You should do it because it is outrageous. But it was very entertaining. The most entertaining part, I have to tell you, were the wardrobes. The wardrobes were so good. Men and women, the haircuts were so good. The dresses were so good. And I mean, it was different. It was a whole different era. And I watched it with commercials. I watched it on one of those free, it was like Tubi or something. I'm not saying it was Tubi. It was something like Tubi, or it could have been Tubi. I don't know. It was just on my Roku. It said free. It said Perry Mason, and I pressed play. And oh my gosh, the cars! Oh God, the cars were so good. If you have time today, go watch one episode of Perry Mason. You won't. But there was, Donald. They went to gambling halls. And the little cigarette girls had these tiny little outfits on, and other ones had real low cut. They showed boobies all over the place, and they had, a 23-year-old who was pregnant out of wedlock, and they had all kinds of murders going on. So I mean, times they haven't really changed as much as you think. All right. I'm going to start OJ. So I will see you all. MeTV. I don't think that's what I watched, but there you go. Go to MeTV. It was pretty good. All right, guys. I will see you in a few minutes at OJ. If not, I will see you later. Bye, Rebecca. Bye, guys.
Got these lights that close digital dreams through the screen, her blue eyes gleam. Wicked humor, sharp as a knife. Her stream sparks electric light. Late night when the world sleeps, she's the friend that always keeps. Giggles roll like thunder loud. She stands out in any crowd. Kathy's laugh cuts through the gloom. Eyes blue like a summer's bloom. Her humor dark and twisted charm. In a way, there's no alarm. Dreaming tales late into the night. Her laughter feels just right. Even when my world turns gray, with a giggle, she lights the way. Her eyes hear a sky so blue. In her jokes, there's a truth so true. With each stream, she brings the light. Turns dark days into bright. Kathy's laugh cuts through the gloom. Eyes blue like a summer's bloom. Her humor dark and twisted charm. In a way, there's no alarm. Streaming tales late into the night. Her laughter feels just right. Even when my world turns gray, with a giggle, she lights the way. Kathy's laugh